Okay, it's not working. Yay, it's working. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So yes, this talk is called Level Up, and it is about data visualization and Swift and fun things like that, and fun animation. So cool. So hello. I am a rapid response coordinator for ASL 19, which is a bit of a mouthful, but basically it means I'm helping activist organizations to prevent and fix information security breaches. Little icon for that. I am also a digital rights technologist, building anti-harassment and digital security tools. Another little icon. I am also studying part-time master's computing stuff, specialising in, surprise, surprise, information security. I'm also a gamer, and my name is Jen, and I have an emoji for my name. Come on, it's great. Okay, so data stuff. So, quick question. Hands up if you're a gamer. Excellent. Cool. Hello, all of you. Hands up if you're a Steam gamer. Marvellous. Okay. So my name is down in the corner. Add me. Also, hands up if you play Team Fortress 2. Cool. Well, okay, great. So the rest of you are going to love the next few bits because I'll explain what the hell I'm talking about. So when I'm talking about Steam, I do not mean this. Cute little animation, yay. I mean various combinations of these things, which is basically non-console gaming, preferably on a Mac, Linux, at a push. So the Steam platform is essentially iTunes for games. You buy games, you sell games, and you play games. And all of this optimization, all of this stuff produces data, which makes me look like that, but without the glasses, because, yeah. And just like Apple, they have an API. So Valve, who makes Steam, allow a lot of that information to be accessed via an API, which is essentially what I'm going to be using in this data visualization. It's not an easy API, but it is an API anyway, so it's a start. You just have to have a lot of patience, but it can be quite fun to play with. So Team Fortress 2 is essentially a first-person shooter. It's made by Valve. It's got a free thing, well, it's free, which results in a large community, because no one wants to pay for games, obviously. And it results in lots of good documentation and lots of data, essentially. So I've got a little video. If it's going to play, that would be great. No, it's not going to play. Okay, well, you just have to use your imagination. So these are all the characters, and each of them has their own data. I'm going to focus on the three that I normally play as. So you've got Scout at the top, Pyro bottom left, and Demo Man bottom right. So for Team Fortress 2, there is a special call that you can make that will give you lots and lots of data. Now, these are the bits. Like I say, it's not particularly nice, but it is slightly self-explanatory. They're all split up by /. The version 2 part has been there for about 3 or 4 years, which gives you an idea as to how often they update it. And the next bit, split up by ampersands. And again, not great readability, but so app ID is the name of the game or the number of the game, and then you've got your secret key, then you've got your Steam ID. The Steam ID is a particular pain in the neck to get hold of. You produce your vanity URL, which is, like I say, the one down the bottom right. You pass it through to another API call, and then it gives back a stupid amount of numbers, basically. Okay, so when you do that, you get lots of JSON back. And you get, oh, okay, I've skipped a thing. Cool. You get lots of stuff, that lot, basically. You get a few other bits and pieces as well, but essentially if you go for data for all 9 characters, you end up with 162 different values, which is why I've only focused on 3 characters. So you also end up with the trophies, character-specific bits and pieces, and special event data. So, like I said before, lots and lots of information. Again, I'm just going to focus on 3 values per character. So, the damage dealt, number of kills, and the points scored. Okay, so the visualization part. Okay, more questions, sorry. Hands up if you've got an Apple Watch. It's all right for some, isn't it? And hands up again if you found yourself walking or exercising more since you've got that Apple Watch. Or any watch, to be fair, but, Apple Watch particularly. Cool. So in particular, you will know that good data visualizations can change your habits, essentially. So if you produce good-looking data visualizations, then you can kind of control people, which is always fun. So in order to create the activity rings, which is an example of a nice data visualization, obviously you have your 3 circles. You then add some colours, and then you beef them up a bit. And I'm sure some of you have worked in core graphics, perhaps. I know one of you wrote the book on this stuff, so please don't contradict me at all. Cool, so yeah, you can do most of this in core graphics, and that's kind of what I'm going to focus on. Now, the tricky part of this is getting it to only fill part of the circle and to go all the way around and hopefully to loop round once you get past the 100% mark, I guess. So because of that, you can't just plonk a circle on your screen, sadly, because that would make things a lot easier and it would make my talk a lot shorter. And that's when you end up with maths, and I look like that. So pies is what you need, or one particular pie anyway. So core graphics works with radians, not degrees, so you can throw some of your maths knowledge out of the window. So with pi, as a reminder, pi is basically the circumference divided by the diameter. So you've got circumference divided by the middle bit. And that's how you can start building a circle. Okay, so now I'm going to go through a bit of code. Okay, so essentially you need to, the key part of this is to define the end of the circle, is to tell you how far around the main point you need to go. And that changes with the data. So that's the bit you make dynamic, essentially. Then you want to open a drawRect function, because even though you're not drawing a rectangle, you're drawing a circle inside of a square-like rectangle thing. And a full circle is 2 times pi. So you can make use of the double constant of m_pi in order to create your full loop, and make that a let, because obviously you're not going to change the circle. And then you've got this end point, and you have to, on the start bit, sorry, ignore the end bit. So on the start bit, you minus 0.25 because it needs to go back to 12. Anything you create with this circle-wise will start from the 3 p.m. mark. So you always have to put it back a little bit. And then the end point also takes that into account. The middle part, you have to get the middle section of the circle, as you can see. I'm sure most of this you can kind of decipher, but I'm going to keep talking anyway. And then you want to sort out the shortest size of the space, shortest side even of the space. So you need to work out the width and divide it by 2 in order to get the radius, or the height. Anyway, so you then also get rid of the stroke width so that it brings it right in from the edges. And then the whole thing can now fit inside of any sized view, which is very, very helpful. You then need to store the details for the circle so that you can store them later, or so you can tweak them later even. And you've got to specify where you want the circle, and then you use all of that to make the thing, which is lovely. And I'll show you what it looks like in just a moment once I've gone through these other bits. So you then go through and define the colours. You want to have a background colour so that you can see just how far around you have left to go, because otherwise it just looks a bit odd. Set the widths and put the endpoints in. As you can see, you've got Scout float, Demo Man float, Pyro float. So then that shows exactly how far around, like I say, you want to go. And it looks a bit like that. So I've open sourced all of this. I'll put the link at the end. But essentially what you do is you can flick through the different tabs and the data changes. At the moment it doesn't go all the way around because I haven't got the gradients quite sorted yet. So it just goes up to 100%. I've nearly run out of slides, I'm afraid. I've rushed through this a little bit. But basically, as I started writing this, I realised I needed a point, because otherwise you'd all be very bored. And hopefully you're not, but maybe you are. But anyway, I'm going to keep talking. So data visualization is fun. Have any of you done data visualization in Swift? It's great, isn't it? You know, data visualization full stop is great. And particularly using the Steam API, you can use it to get an edge over your Steam competitors, which is marvelous. So you can work out at what times of day, perhaps, you play better as one character or as another character. You can find out what your competitors are playing as and which ones their weak characters are. And yeah, lots of fun things like that. You can also tie it in with other APIs. So, for example, I mean, aside from the Team Fortress stuff, you can also find out if you sleep better after playing zombie games, for example, or racing games. You know, fun things like that I think, you know, other people would find interesting. So please build stuff with this API, because not enough people are. And lastly, as I said before, visualizations can change people's habits. So you can literally change people, and not to undersell it, but you can change the world in some ways, you know? You can get people playing more of certain games than others, and yeah, you can use this power to change people, and you should, quite frankly. So yes, this is, you got the repo at the top. That's got all the bits and pieces to make it look like the other slide. Steam documentation, particularly the last bit. So like I said earlier, the Steam API is not greatly documented, sadly, or not by Steam anyway. It's documented very well by Team Fortress players. So the last link will give you a lot more information than the second one. So yes, that's all of it, I'm afraid. Sorry. Hey. Anyone want to save me here?
Thank you. That was very interesting. So I've done some visualization stuff in Swift. One of the problems I guess I encountered was it involves quite a lot of low-level graphics operations. I've seen some libraries that maybe try to abstract away some of that stuff, but often they're quite limited in what you can do. I don't know if you've come across any libraries you can recommend, or things you would like to see in a library.
I looked at a couple of them. But I'm one of those people who kind of likes to go around things the long way. Gives me more to talk about, quite frankly. There's a couple of, like I say, there was a couple that I tried and I didn't go very far with, because like I say, I kind of like to go around things the long way. So, but I would like to see something along the lines of D3 that you get in web development. Web development is something that I've come from, and I really use that a lot. And it would be nice to see a framework like that. There's, like I say, there was only 2 that I saw for Swift, sadly. So it would be nice to see some more options out there. But, yeah.
I just wanted to ask if you could just say a bit more about the Steam API. So the visualizations you showed with the pie charts, is that just your personal sessions playing as those characters, or can you pull in sort of global data for all players playing as the characters? And if so, is there any kind of opt-in or opt-out? You know, are there any kind of privacy concerns? Do people regard, the actions they do in video games as
Thank you for asking about privacy. Yay! You've made me so happy. So yeah, you can make you can make your profile private, and therefore all of your data is closed off. As far as I'm aware, you can get No, I don't think you can even get the user ID if your account is private. So that's the only way you can cut it off. Everything else is open if your profile is public. So on the privacy side, it could be better. But I will say there was one thing I didn't explain. So I always forget this bit. I always forget to explain what the colours mean. So the outside is Scout, middle bit is Demo Man, and the inside bit is Pyro. You just reminded me to say that, sorry. But yeah, it would be great for them to have a little bit more of a privacy conscious feeling behind this. But there is an authentication thing you can go through that will give you a lot more information about a user's personal habits and everything. But frankly, they have to then authorize it. So if you're building something for a user to look at their own data and stuff that is more private than this stuff, basically, because I could put in anyone's Steam ID and I could get this information back if their profile is public. But yeah, there is an authentication stuff in there, but it's not greatly documented. And I know there's a couple of people here who have tried to work with it and not got very far. Yeah. So the public stuff is more generally worked with, quite frankly.
Hi, Jen. Thanks very much. A really nice talk.
Thanks.
Quick question. I do a lot of sort of data visualization with like analytics, and I get to play with things like timestamps and date ranges quite often. Did you have a chance to play with anything like changing date ranges to see if you can add any sort of interactivity to the data?
I haven't, but that sounds great. Like, I will do that, definitely. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of information in this API, and as far as I'm aware, hardly anyone's doing anything with it. There's a couple of web applications that have come out, a couple of browser extensions, but nothing like app-wise. And Steam's app itself has been pretty terrible up until recently. So there's a lot of room for improvement, and particularly, like I say, giving you an edge over your competitors, which is what all gamers want, quite frankly. So, yeah. But no, I will definitely have a look at that. That'd be cool. Okay. You all want to get to the drinks, don't you? That's what it is.
Okay, another round of applause for Jan. Thank you.